The Raptors win a tight one over the Detroit Pistons, 95-91. Welcome to Raptors Tonight. I'm Randy Irvin, joined by Sherman Hamilton, Jack Armstrong, and Paul Jones. Jonesy, this is the first time the Raptors have won 4 straight. Got a little dicey there down the stretch. How were they able to pull it out?
Well, it was a rock fight. It was. I mean, I hear, you and Jack commenting on how cold the building was. I mean, it's a quick turnaround. They got a hockey game in there tonight, but I look at the internal body clock too. A 12 noon start. That's the time that you're getting out of your bedroom slippers and going to shoot around normally. So it made a difference. To your question though, Randy, I thought they made winning plays when they had to. Coming down the stretch, Jakob Poeltl with a couple of just sublime passes to Pascal Siakam for baskets on backdoor cuts going down the lane. I thought their defense was strong. They came up with a couple of key stops, containing, contesting shots, rebounding. And they just, they're in that mode now. We talked about this at the beginning of the year where Nick Nurse always said to them, no matter what, keep playing. Mm-hmm. They're doing that right now. And they're finding a way while keeping on playing to make winning plays and come up with key plays. So they've got a little bit of confidence right now. That's 7 out of 8. They're kind of believing in themselves. So I like what I'm seeing. They made winning plays when it counted, Randy.
Mm-hmm. And Jack, I know we talked, it was cold in the arena and that affected the play, but do you think that the defense affected the way the Raptors pulled this one out? What did you like about their defense?
Well, just 2 observations. Number one, I thought both teams played really hard.
Yeah.
This wasn't a pretty game, but I commend both teams. I thought the effort was excellent in terms of how hard these guys played. But it was hard to get a sweat and maintain a sweat. It's just one of those games you do. And number 2, to Jonesy's point, there is a confidence level growing, and there's a spirit too. Like watching, I wasn't working the game on television today, so I can watch a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And the interaction between the players and the coaches, the players on the bench cheering for their teammates, guys pulling for each other, guys having really good conversations with each other, going into timeouts, coming out of timeouts. A lot of really cool stuff where the players are starting to take more ownership of what's going on. And what's the old line? When you coach players with character, the character coaches the team itself. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more empowerment. I see a lot more togetherness. I think Jakob Poeltl's a great connector. He's so selfless that it just creates a different vibe. There's a pretty cool vibe going on right now, and they made, to Jonesy's point, they made winning plays. This is a good road win,
Yeah.
And once again, the Canadian crowd was amazing. The Raptor crowd was just awesome.
Yeah, they were so loud tonight. They're, the first quarter, they were getting into a "Let's Go Raptors" chant, and it was trying to be drowned out by the music of the PA staff. They were loud. It was almost louder than a Raptors game in here. It was amazing. Sure, offensively, Pascal Siakam, I thought, carried the Raptors, but it didn't look like it was at the expense of the teammates. He just had to do it on a night like today, or a day like today.
I agree. The defense, it was a defensive game when you talk about how low the field goal percentages were for both teams and how difficult it was to score. But, you need at least one guy to have something going offensively that you can get something. And I thought Pascal was that guy for the Raptors today. And it's good that he did it throughout all 4 quarters. He had some help from Gary Trent Jr. as well offensively, but Pascal was the guy. Mm-hmm. And without Fred VanVleet, when you look around, you expect it to be Pascal Siakam to carry the load, and he did that job. And having said that, I thought he got some help in terms of making some easier buckets for him. The guys have talked about Jakob Poeltl in that high post kind of split action, and Killian Hayes, by the way, became a target for the Raptors to focus on to get some easy buckets. But mm-hmm. I just thought there was good ball movement, good body movement through that stretch of the game where Pascal was the recipient of some easy buckets. But that's what leadership is supposed to do. In a game like this, when nobody really has it going offensively, you're expected to step up and find a way to get something done. And Pascal did that.
Yeah, and Jonesy, if he keeps this pace up, 25, 7, and 6, I don't think any Raptors ever had those numbers before. he's really put together a complete season here as we wind down.
He's a focal point. You know, he is the guy. I mean, I know they're missing Fred again today. Fred is a big part of what's going on, but you know, the ball is going to Pascal. And when I think about the two plays that Pirtle made to him, those were a direct result of Detroit trying to make sure that he did not get his hands on the ball. And so he goes back door. I mean, the floor is spread. He goes back door, cuts into the lane. They turn into layups for him, a dunk and a layup. And you know, why? Because as you said, Randy, everybody knows he's the guy. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the one that's going to get the ball, and they're trying to deny and make it tough on him. And, you know, that's smart basketball. He's having, you know, a heck of a year. I'm looking at the standings right now. Raptors are only, well, half a game, one game in the loss column out of 8. And the difference between 8 and 9 is big. If you're in 9 or 10 in the playoffs, you got to win 2 games to get to the 8 spot. If you're in 8, 7 or 8, you win 1 game and you got 7. So it's a big difference. And I'm just kind of looking at, you know, some of the teams in front of them. Miami not playing well. Brooklyn, a bad loss last night. They couldn't back their way through the field. So if you're Toronto right now, you're kind of catching the wave at the right time. You just got to keep riding it. And to your point, Pascal is the guy that's captaining the ship.
And Jack, it just feels like too defensively. I know we talked about this a little bit, but defensively as a whole, the team is just playing so much better on that end of the floor, game in and game out. Is there something different that's happening there?
Jakob Pirtle.
That's it.
Yeah. No, I mean, no. I mean, there's no question because Jakob's smart. Like I was watching Jakob. He was having a really intense conversation with Nick Nurse about some defensive scheme and going through everything. And they were really having a really good conversation. And like, this guy's been coached. Think about it. He's played, you know, he was part of a really good Raptor development. And then he played for Greg Popovich. And, you know, like he knows what so he's in the right spots. He's in the back now. And, you know, you have a shot blocker back there. He's a big physical guy. So he's a big reason why. And I'll tell you what, the kid Doughton does a good job too. He's a hard-nosed, competitive guy. He's got some length. And, you know, so when he comes in the game, he's done a pretty good job as well.
Yeah, and Pirtle too, Jack, just to your point, it's refreshing to have a guy clean up the misses the way he does, because so many possessions in the past have just ended on those chippies missed, and he's able to get them back up there, and that changes the momentum of games.
No, you get extra shots, you get extra opportunities. Now, if they can ever make shots,
yeah,
you know,
they did miss a lot.
But there's a lot of them, and for a team that doesn't shoot the ball real well, to have a guy like Jakob, that really is helpful because he can buy you some extra possessions.
Sure, no Fred again tonight. How do you think the offense looked with Scotty sort of running the point?
You want me to judge it by tonight or today?
Well, over the last couple of games.
Yeah, not very good. I mean, they struggled offensively, obviously, and it's not that, you know, they didn't have some good looks throughout the game. They did. They didn't make them, but there's levels to this. You know, Fred is a true leader at the point guard spot. He understands the pulse of the game. He understands the timing. He understands momentum. Who needs to get the ball when and where. And when he needs to score himself, and as Scotty continues to grow with his ball handling responsibilities, we're going to see the development of those things that Fred already has. So it's different when Fred's not there. There's some growing pains because Scotty's learning on the job, but there's no question you want Fred back because he can make that decision at that time for that person, and it all fits together more often than not.
Yeah, Jonesy, OG kind of struggled, 2 of 7, 6 points. What does he need to do to become more of an impact player out there right now?
Just get reps, Randy. He's been off for a long time. You know, the injury had him out for a while, then the All-Star break. You can get in the gym and practice as much as you want. There's nothing that simulates the competition and the speed and the urgency of an NBA game. And so for me, I just need to see him continue to play, get reps, get out there and get his feel back. I mean, you know, in the first game back the other night, he had 3 or 4 really good looks and everything came up short. And that's just being off. You know, you watch racehorses, they're off for a couple of weeks. The race is great. The last half a furlong or so, they don't have that closing stamina. OG just needs some reps. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Detroit's move to acquire James Wiseman was criticized by some pundits, but what do you guys think of the move, Jack?
Well, he's obviously a very talented kid. I liked his game at Memphis.
Yeah.
But there seems to be some, you know, if a team like the Warriors gives up on you, there's something there that has to be corrected, that he has to look in the mirror and say, you know, hey, I got to improve.
Mhm.
He's talented. Now, obviously, when you're playing with the Warriors, there's a pressure and an expectation, and there's a lot of stuff for a young player in terms of how they play that you got to be really alert to stuff.
Mhm.
And I think right now his game isn't mature yet and sound fundamentally. He's got the physical tools, but nonetheless, it's something that still has to click.
Mhm.
And on the other hand, you know, if you're coaching a young guy like that, maybe you have to simplify things when he's in the game. You know, maybe you have to simplify your defensive coverages. You run a tight series of plays when he's in the game that he knows and he's comfortable with, and not try to complicate it too much for him.
I think a couple of things too. I mean, he played 3 games at Memphis in his collegiate career, and about 60 games in the NBA. So he hasn't played a lot of basketball in the last few years.
Mhm.
So there's that. And the other side of it too is, you know, you're going to Dwayne Casey. And when you look at the Raptors today, how much of an imprint has Dwayne Casey had on the development of Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, you know, OG Anunoby, you know, all these guys who have played under Dwayne Casey who now have become those kind of players. You're hoping that Dwayne, and I have full confidence in Dwayne because he's so good at what he does, to be able to at least show this young man the right way to get to where he needs to be. And if he's willing to take that instruction and that leadership from Dwayne Casey, he can have successes like he's seen with Pascal and Fred and guys like that.
Yeah. All right, guys, going to stop it there. A big grinded out win for the Toronto Raptors. Next game Sunday against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tip-off goes at 6 p.m. Eastern. After the game, be sure to catch Raptors Tonight on YouTube and NBA TV Canada. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.